Take a breath and settle in. Welcome to Metaphysics at the Movies, the podcast where film meets deeper meaning and every scene becomes a doorway to insight. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing someone who doesn't just watch movies, he reads them. Reverend Rich P. is a Unity minister, speaker, and teacher of practical spirituality, known for blending real-life wisdom with metaphysical truth in a way that's grounded, accessible, and powerful. Around here, it's not just about what's happening on the screen. It's about what's happening within us as we watch. So whether it's drama, comedy, or action, Reverend Rich P. helps us uncover the spiritual principles, the hidden patterns, and the deeper messages woven into the stories we love. Get ready to see movies differently, and maybe even see yourself differently too. Let's get into it.
Hello again, and welcome to Metaphysics in the Movies. I'm Rev Rich, and today we're taking a look at the 1998 film City of Angels, starring Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. Now, of course, on the surface, this looks like a love story between an angel and a doctor, but underneath the romance is so many deeper questions and ways we can get into it. So, as always, the warning: if you do not like spoilers, go ahead and pause this. It is an older movie, so you may have to take a little quick tour around to find who's still showing it. I do know it's still out there. And watch the movie. If it doesn't matter to you, or if you've already seen the movie, then let's continue. So the reason we chose this movie is one, last week we did Pay It Forward, which was also an older movie. Love the movie, of course, and I say it again, if we can get the world for everyone to pay it forward, let's stop wondering who owes us and why are they not doing it for us. We do it and release it and let them pay it forward to someone else who may need it. But coming back to this, my wife said, well, you're watching Pay It Forward. What about City of Angels? And I was like, wow, I didn't even think of that movie in a long time. And watching it really opened my eyes to so many lessons in there. So as always, we'll do the top 5, 6, but, watch the movie for yourself and find those lessons that you can implement into your life. So let's go ahead and ask the magical question here. What does it really mean to be alive? Because sometimes we can spend so much time preparing for life, worrying about life, or even trying to protect ourselves from pain that we forget to actually experience life. The movie reminds us that spirit is not separate from our human experience. God isn't waiting for us somewhere else. God is present right here, expressing through every laugh, every tear, every relationship, and every ordinary moment that becomes sacred when we are fully awake to it. So let's take a look at some of the metaphysical lessons hidden inside City of Angels. So let's talk about the first lesson here, and is life it's meant to be experienced. Seth spends most of his movies observing humanity. He can see people, he can hear them, yet he can't fully experience what they experience. Imagine walking around, you can't taste, you can't have someone see you, you can't touch, but you can hear and you can see everything going around you. And from a metaphysic perspective, I think many of us do exactly the same thing. We stand on the sideline, we watch, we wait, and we tell ourselves that someday we will really live. Problem is that someday isn't on the calendar. But life isn't something we're supposed to observe from a distance. In our Unity teachings, we teach that God is expressing through us. We are here to participate in life and not simply witness it. Sometimes spiritual growth isn't about escaping the world. It's about becoming fully present in it. So let's take this lesson today, and what one thing today can you actually, maybe you were afraid to do, maybe you kind of thought you weren't good enough to do, and just do it. I remember being in the church in Pennsylvania, and people used to make fun of this older lady who just loved to sing. And in fact, when she sang with other people, she sang wonderfully. It was by herself that sometimes she was out of tune and whatever. And I remember she was telling me how people don't like her singing. And I remember looking at her and saying, you sing your heart out. If you want to sing, go ahead and sing your heart out. Now, sometimes she went a little excessive after that, but that's okay. She's living life to what she needs. And that's what you need to do today. Find something you've been afraid of, something, whatever, and just do it. See what comes out of it, what lessons come out of it, what movement upward comes out of it. Let's go ahead and go on to lesson 2 here. And that's love requires courage. So in the movie itself, Seth chooses love knowing that there's no guarantees. He could have stayed an angel, decided to descend, as they say, and become human, all because he was in love. So in him choosing that, we see that what makes love powerful, because there was a choice, even though there was no guarantee. Love always asks us to be vulnerable. And we know through Brene Brown, she has taught that vulnerability is actually a strength. And there are no promises that relationships will last forever. There are no promises that we won't experience disappointment. Yet lead love anyway, because love itself is a part of our divine nature. Fear builds walls, but love builds bridges. And when we choose love, we choose life. And this should be in everything we do. In fact, one of the talks I do, and I've heard other speakers touch on this, is when Jesus said the 2 greatest commandments are, but we missed the 3rd commandment, which is love yourself. So today, choose love. In fact, before you love anyone or anything else, I want you to choose yourself. I want you to descend from those places where social media tells you what you're supposed to be, where other people tell you you're supposed to be, from our own incremented thoughts of jealousy because we feel that that's the way we're supposed to be, and descend and just love yourself for where you are today. And be vulnerable and open, because I guarantee you, as you continue to listen, you'll find that next step. You'll find that path that won't come from fear, won't come from, being inundated by outer thoughts, but it will come from a place that says, you are here. Now take a step this way. And let's go ahead and go on to lesson number 3 here. The present moment is holy. One of my favorite themes throughout the movie is how simple experiences become extraordinary. Just sitting and feeling the wind, watching the sun, tasting a pear, even holding someone's hands. The angels seem fascinated by these things we often take for granted. And honestly, that makes me wonder how often I rush past the miracles that surround me every day. Metaphysics teaches that God isn't hidden from us. Divine presence is found in the ordinary. Sometimes the most spiritual moments happen while drinking coffee, taking a walk, or sharing a conversation with someone we love. And I can attest to that. I came from a belief that I had to keep working, keep doing stuff, keep busy, run from life. If things piss me off, run from that. And there were so many ways to do it. But when I finally realized that being present, not just in your spiritual practice, but in everything else, and when one of my kids come up to me and say, hey, Dad, blah, 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 I stop what I'm doing and listen. Same thing if my wife is talking to me, if I'm doing something, I may stop and just listen. Sometimes when I do go outside and sit in my chair, I'll sit and watch the birds, watch the trees. In fact, we had a funny story because my wife put out a hummingbird feeder, and the stand that came with it was kind of low. So we always thought, well, maybe they don't come because we need to put it up high or whatever. And she went ahead and she emptied the nectar that was in it. Well, lo and behold, I'm sitting there. We're all sitting outside having a conversation. But I'm in that present moment, just sitting there, and I'm listening and enjoying life, feeling the love, feeling the peace. And when I look at the corner of my eye, I see something heading to the hummingbird feeder. So at first glance, I thought, well, maybe it's just another animal or another bird. Nope, sure enough, it was a hummingbird looking for the nectar. And but it tells you that sometimes we make assumptions, but when we're open in presence, we start to see the things that we normally would miss. So that's homework for you today in lesson 3. Practice a couple of moments of just being present. Maybe it is just sitting outside with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and just let the world go away. Notice what's going on. Maybe it's just some prayer time. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's just being present with a good book. Put the phone down, put everything down, and just be here in that moment with whatever is surrounding you. Maybe it's just listening to a conversation. There's just so many ways to be present. So that's your homework for this lesson. But let's go ahead and do this and move on to lesson number 4, where love never dies. So one of the hardest moments in the movie comes after Seth experiences loss. His human mind immediately asks, was it worth it? And I believe the answer was yes, because real love never disappears. Forms change, people transition, seasons end, but yes, love itself remains. Unity teaches that life is eternal and that the spirit can never be destroyed. What is born of love remains part of us forever. Nothing genuine is ever wasted. And there's so many lessons in this one lesson because we tend to become negative Nellies, as they say. We have a relationship that may not have worked out in friends or family, whatever. And we immediately want to keep pointing fingers. It's their fault. But when we come from a place of love, it changes that perspective of that relationship. And that relationship taught you something. That relationship gave you something, even if it was a short term. Trust me, I came from a lot of anger issues. And a lot of forgiveness work had to be done internally, and eternally. But once you do that, you can start to see in perspective when everyone's like, but that person is like, yes, that person gifted me this and taught me that, and with a smile. So what situations today are you looking at and singing, I've lost that loving, or you've lost that loving feeling? Whereas you should be looking at where love can take place through the eyeglasses of love and see what you got from that relationship, no matter what, even in loss. So lesson number 5 here, as we continue to move on. And like I said, usually I do top 5, top 6. Today will be top 5. So lesson 5, do not let fear keep you from living. I kind of touched on that in the last lesson. But we have to remember that pain is the part of human experience. Loss is the part of human experience. Yet, so is joy, so is beauty, and so is connection. We spend so much time and energy trying to avoid getting hurt that we accidentally avoid living. This movie reminds me that the life isn't measured by how long something lasts. It's measured by how deeply we experienced it. And perhaps that's why every day matters. Not because tomorrow is guaranteed, but today is a gift. And you know that. We say this all the time. We're so worried about getting hurt that we won't do something. We're so worried on failing that we won't try something. We're so worried about being prepared that all we do is continue to be prepared and be prepared. I just had that conversation with someone about how a lot of us, we prepare to be prepared, or we are getting ready to get ready. That's it. And we're so frightened to get the motion going. So I had to learn, too, that even I still fall into that mindset at times, that when I do, I have to say, you know what, let me at least do something. Let me put something on paper. Let me do something on computer, whatever it is. And I've come out with new projects. Will every project succeed? Probably not. But at least I'm doing it. I'm learning. I'm course correcting. And who knows how I'll be able to bless somebody in a couple of months, a couple of years, a couple of days. because I've learned and I've continued to move, and I no longer wait to get ready, but I just jump in and know that I will be ready. And that will be my gift for today. So when we look at the full metaphysical message in the movie is that City of Angels is that heaven is isn't somewhere we go. Heaven is a state of consciousness. It is found where we awaken to the sacredness of this moment. It is found where we love, when we forgive, when we appreciate, when we become fully present in the life that God is expressing through us. The kingdom of heaven is as far away as Jesus said in Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is within you. And maybe that's what this movie has been trying to tell us all along. So this week, I want to invite you to slow down. And as I said, take a breath, find yourself present, and just watch a sunrise. Maybe take a walk, taste your food. Put your phone down for a few minutes. Tell somebody you love them. Become present to the gift of this moment, because life isn't happening someday. It's happening right now. And maybe, just maybe, that's the miracle. So thank you for joining me for another episode of Metaphysics at the Movies. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, God is closer than your next breath. Love is always worth the risk. Life itself is sacred. And I want you to take that truth and walk with it. Peace and blessings. And so it is.
And just like that, the credits start to roll. But here's the truth. What you saw in the movie is already playing out in your life. So the question is, what are you choosing to believe? What role are you stepping into? And what truth are you ready to live? That's the work. If this episode spoke to you, don't just sit with it. Walk with it, apply it, live it, let it move through you. And if you're ready to go deeper, more teachings, tools, journals, and ways to activate this in your everyday life, head over to revrichp.com. That's where the conversation continues. Until next time, keep watching, keep awakening, and take that truth and walk with it. Peace and blessings.